Hello again, everyone. It's Michael, one of your coaches for the Tech Entrepreneur Nanodegree program. Today, we're going to be answering some of our frequently asked questions regarding networking. Specifically, I have, as the entrepreneur, I have a certain skill set, whether it be maybe business, finance, coding, but I lack X, Y, or Z skill set. And how do I go about finding people who I want to recruit as part of my team to help me build out the app or make sure that my business plan is solid, etc. So, networking is one of those things where you actively have to engage and actively have to seek out the people. Very rarely will people just come to you, especially if you haven't really publicized your idea or your product at all. So, for example, one route that you could go finding resources for helping build out the actual code part of your app would be seeking out either freelancers or consultancy groups. Now, there's kind of pros and cons with each. Usually, freelancers are cheaper. A lot of the times there's a bidding process, so the lowest bidder wins. Sometimes it's harder to vet freelancers, though, unless they have a really solid GitHub profile or professional kind of resume. You won't really know the skill set of that programmer and if they kind of align well with your needs and what needs to be completed with that app. Now contrast that with consultancy groups where, yes, it will be more expensive. And that expense comes from the overhead of having project managers, a team of experienced engineers, and just more or less the amount of collaboration that you and the consultancy group will have. Certainly with freelancers, you can still discuss things, but with the consultancy group, it's much more focused towards your needs, and they are more willing to change things later on, whereas a freelancer is more or less given a project with a description, and then they come back to you with, here's the end product. So while the cost of consultancy groups may be out of the grasp of some early entrepreneurs, it is something well worth the cost if you don't have the programming background required. Another route of getting programming stuff done is to actually recruit a co-founder. So kind of like the chief technology officer, or just hire your first senior developer or something like that. There's multiple ways that you can exchange non-monetary things just to get people's interest and recruit them. So a lot of times there are exchanges of, kind of like the pre-stock, the private stock of the company, which is typically called equity. And so there's times where you can maybe see contracts floating out on the internet that says, looking for programmer for XYZ idea, for your skill set and a year of your work, and these expectancies will offer you 5% equity, which in a roundabout way means you own, or you're giving away 5% of the total ownership of your company to this person or this group of people. So that's one way to exchange things. Obviously, you could still exchange money and say, I'm looking for a temporary contract developer with the option of going full-time. And then there's always kind of less direct ways to develop things, whether or not you can collaborate with local universities or schools to see who might be interested in almost doing an internship. You'll have to check your state or kind of national government laws to see if there's any kind of regulations surrounding that. That's one way to really both develop the app for your purposes, but also mentor somebody else that might be interested in entrepreneurship, right? Passing along what we're teaching you now, you can pass on to someone else later. And then finally, the routes in which you can find these types of people. So with consultancy groups, it's really easy, whether you do like a Google search and some consultancy groups are strictly driven by the type of products that they make. So whether it be strictly retail products or strictly produce or food type products and apps, or you can just search a generic consultancy group and go from there. They will have a pretty extensive conversation with you just so they are assured that you're a good fit for them and they are a good fit for you. They will put that effort forward and they will be honest with you and say, no, we don't have that skill set to develop something like that. For the actual people that could be co-founders, you can use something such as AngelList, Crunchbase, LinkedIn. Those are a bunch of great places where plenty of entrepreneurs use to network and discuss things with peers. The thing with AngelList and Crunchbase and LinkedIn is that you have to be publicly open about what your idea is. Not very many people will be willing to offer free work for equity in a product that they know nothing about. So certainly at the end of the nanodegree program itself, your last project will serve as a great foundation to discuss your idea and present it to others, whether it be an investor or even a co-founder. So be sure to use that tool once you have it. So I mean, that's about as much as I can say right now without going into too much more detail. Hopefully that will cover your general questions about networking. Feel free to send us more questions. There is always the link to the form in the forums, in the welcome stream emails, and of course you can just email us directly at tech-support@udacity.com. Until then, happy learning.